Good evening. Welcome, everybody. On behalf of the school board and administration, I'd like to welcome you to the listening time. I'm Greta Evans, Becker Board Chair, and I am the board facilitator for tonight's session. Thank you for taking the time to join us and presenting your comments, concerns, questions, and ideas. We're looking forward to hearing from you. We want to have representatives. We have representatives from the school board and administration here tonight, and we will introduce ourselves at this time.
Good evening, I'm Terry Stell, Superintendent of Robbinsdale.
Hello, Kim Holmes, School Board. I'm my mom, School Board. Thank you.
We will allow 3 minutes per person, and our timer is Director Long. When you get to 2.5 minutes, to put our hand up so that you can kind of pace yourself and just wrap up your remarks. If there are a large number of attendees to speak on one topic, we request that you select 2 to 3 spokespersons. Executive assistant to the superintendent and school board will distribute any documents that you might have. And if you haven't filled out a form yet to talk to us, they're over there. And when you fill it out, you'll give it over here to Joanna, and then she will give it to us with any of the paperwork that you might have. I want to remind you that due to school board policy, personal attacks by anyone addressing the school board are unacceptable. Persistence in such remarks by an individual shall terminate that person's privilege to address the school board. Additionally, school board speakers are expected to adhere to school board policy under dress code and appearance. So what we do is we just take people in the order that they submitted their forms. And if you haven't been here before, then you come up and sit in the chair right here and talk to us, okay? And our first person is Susan Otto.
My name is Susan Otto. I'm sure you're fully aware, last week there was a fight at my son's school. I just want to take of my 3 minutes, just one brief second to say that under no circumstances do I think that fighting is okay. I don't know the full details of what occurred between the 2 boys, their disciplinary histories, and it doesn't honestly matter, because I condemn that behavior and it's not okay. What I would like to speak with you tonight about is the equitable application of school district policy on behavioral issues. My son received a 3-day out of school suspension for his behavior during the incident for substantial disruption and inappropriate use of electronic technology. The suspension notification said my son had knowledge of an impending major school infraction and did not report it to any adult. He then recorded this major infraction on his cell phone during PE class. He then shared the recording with others. Someone posted the recording on social media platforms. I'm not sure what was shared with you or the other district personnel, so I'm just going to unpack that for you and how I read the applicable policy. So my son became aware of this infraction minutes before the incident occurred. We remarked that they hear. I don't know how much time you spend around 14-year-old boys. I spend a lot of time around 14-year-old boys. And I think if the district had to find someone who investigated a lot over a 14-year-old boy, you'd have to hire additional staff. I've also read that handbook cover to cover, and nowhere in there is the penalty for failure to report something like this should happen. I'd like to also point out that the information, if that information constitutes his punishment, the child that he heard it from was not disciplined. He was in school all week this week. He says the notification goes on to say that my son reported this on his cell phone in PE class and then shared it with others. I completely agree. He absolutely did report that incident, and he texted that to 3 of his friends. I checked our phone records. I've checked everything, the data usage and text message charges, and he absolutely did that. Per the student handbook, that's a level 2 offense. Which can go up to in-school, 1 day in-school suspension. I do have knowledge of at least one other student this year who also recorded something on their cell phone and received a 1 day in-school suspension, which is not my son. It was posted on social media. I'm going to skip to the end because we're running out of time. You've got the thing. The principal advised my son and I to not discuss the disciplinary action with anybody, and I wholeheartedly disagree. I think we need to level set expectations for our kids, and if that's the expectation, then we need to apply that after we
Thank you very much.
That if the policy should be applied to everyone the same way.
Advise not to talk about it.
Correct.
Let's speak up when you go, or
Period.
Is Nina Shimon?
My name is Nina Shimon, and I am a Lakeview parent of two girls. One is in first grade, one is in third. I am also a reading corps scholar coach at the school, so I am there every day, seeing how it goes. And so I'm here. I've emailed you, I've met with you, because I do strongly oppose the recommendation to eliminate the IB program from our district. So thank you if you have read my email, and I know you have responded, so I know you have read my concerns. So I just want to kind of continue on with that. Dr. Stolo, I've been looking through your budget recommendation, and the thing that I keep coming back to are this different levels of severity of what is recommended to be cut. Okay, so and I know 21 million, that is a big number, so I do understand that everybody's going to get hit in some fashion. However, the current recommendation reads elementary fourth grade orchestra, teledevelopment, and those seem like small programs. It's 1 year of one extracurricular. Teledevelopment, I'm guessing, applies to employees. Is that correct? Or no, it's a school program. Okay. But International Baccalaureate, that is a curricula. I see it implemented every day. It is part of every single thing that those kids do. It is in their morning meeting. It is how they approach their learning. And it creates the community at our school. Our school is, the IB program is probably the biggest reason we chose to go to Lakeview. And we appreciate the diversity of it. And the IB brings that community together. We have more than 1/5 EL learners. And so the Spanish language program brings us together where our EL students, a lot of them are Spanish speakers. They get to be, the experts there, and those of us who are not fluent, everybody becomes a language learner. We are a global community at that school, and I think to take away from these kids who already have so many, we are a very diverse school. We're also a school with families with a lot of needs. And so to take this away, to take away this thing that brings us together, I think we could look other places first.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you did it exactly on time. Next person, number 3, is Kenneth Muto.
Thank you. Thank you, Board Chair. Thank you, Board members. I am here to first say Happy Black History Month to all staff. And secondly, as we can hear from some of the previous speakers, the passion in the district is going to be a little rough in the next few months. I think what you guys do is probably one of the only careers that you don't know your fate, if you are coming back next year or not, but you're expected to still show up and do your work. So thank you to the staff, thank you to the teachers, and thanks for the leadership.
Number 4 is Mendy Symington. Hi, welcome.
Thank you, School Board, staff for having me. My name is Libby Symington, and I am the current elementary school counselor at C. This is my 3rd year in the position, and I wanted to take the opportunity to come here tonight to not only represent myself, but represent my colleagues in the elementary education area, as well as the students and families at C and the 4,700 elementary students that are in the district that we support school-wide, classroom, small groups, and one-on-one.
I felt it was important to come and speak tonight on behalf of everyone because obviously due to the budget shortfall and the baseline staffing, elementary counselors are not returning. We have found out that we are not coming back, and we find that to be a critical piece for support and student success. When I look at the strategic plan of the district, we look at what elementary counselors do, and we work hard daily to support the emotional regulation and mental health needs of students. I think we all know and we hear the mental needs are critical and they are deteriorating with youth. A couple stats I want to share quick. Per the National Association of Mental Illness, 1 in 6 youth aged 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. 50% of mental health illness begins by age 14, and this horrifying one is suicide is the leading cause of death among people ages 10 to 14. That would be 4th grade. Per the strategic plan, the academic achievement and student engagement and wellness are critical to have successful learners. As school counselors, we feel that we are a critical role and that our positions need to be maintained. To have successful learners, we must prioritize mental health and emotional regulation. The other part of the strategic plan is the collaboration and partnership. I know myself and our fellow colleagues, we work hard with the administration, families, nurses, staff, EAs, everyone to support students being successful learners. That's through emotional regulation. That is through mental health. The strategic plan with the staff investment impact, I just have a quick personal story. 2 weeks ago, I was meeting with a student, 3rd grader, who had been kicked about 3rd time by a student, same student in the past year. I was meeting with her to be sure she felt safe and that she could be a successful learner. And I've met with her throughout the years, the 3 years I've been here for different reasons, and she said to me, I want to be you when I grow up. And then she said, is your job stressful? And I said, well, it can be. And she said, but you take away stress, so how can it be stressful? And I just want to say, if we're not there to help these students take away the stress, and as we know next year will be stressful with changes, who will be that person? So I just ask that the board consider keeping us on as elementary education counselors.
Thank you. Ms. Symington, do you have any information that you want to leave with our, us? You gave a lot of information. Did you have any handout or anything you wanted to leave?
I didn't bring anything.
That's okay.
My notes were expensive. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, number 5 is Katie Dean. Welcome.
Thanks. My name is Katie Dean. I have 4 children in the district. I have 2 at Lakeview, 1 at RMS, and 1 at Cooper. And all 4 of my children are very different learners. As we know as parents, your kids are not, even though they're from the same parents, they can be very, very different. But the 2 consistent things that have really helped my children be successful all the way through now, through sophomore year of high school, are their teachers and the IB program. So I'm here to just talk a little bit about IB. I know you guys have heard a little bit. For those of you who don't know what IB is, it's a program that is very beneficial for all levels. It teaches kids how to think about the world differently from how they maybe originally thought about the world and how they can contribute to the world and to their school. It encourages children to take charge of their learning, which is probably my favorite part of the program. It really teaches them to be risk takers and respectful learners, principled, and those are words that they're using all day, every day. And like Nina said, it's not just one class. It is from the time they walk in to the time they leave every day, from kindergarten to their senior year. And then also that is brought into the homes. My kids speak that way at home as well. Like Nina said earlier, the Spanish component is so big for Lakeview students. My children have some friends who come from Spanish-speaking homes, and sometimes that's the way they communicate with these friends is, you know, my daughter Amelia is not fluent by any means, but she takes the risk and uses what she learns from Mrs. Little in her Spanish class that she has once a week, and she is able to communicate with these friends. And I think that is so powerful. And it just is heartwarming. I just want to say that if we do have to get rid of the program, and I know the counselor that just spoke, we don't want to get rid of anything. Of course, mental health is so important as well. If we do have to get rid of it, I want to know a little bit more about what's going to be offered, especially at the high school for the advanced level classes. Like I said, my son was going to do the whole program, the International Baccalaureate Diploma, and now that's not maybe going to happen. So is AP class, you know, are those classes going to be bulked up, or how are we going to keep it equitable and, you know, higher level learning for them?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Jane Borasic? Barish. Oh, Barish. Thank you. Sorry. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having the listening session. So let me get this open. Okay, so I've been here before. I'm not a resident, don't have children here, but the issues that are facing Robbinsdale schools are kind of emblematic of what's going on throughout the public education system, and I'm sure any problems someone's experienced somewhere else, I know you guys have been struggling with. So I hope you're open to feedback and input from where things have worked facing the same issues that you face. So the question I have, and I understand that you then have to respond to questions, right? So within 4 days, we get a response. And so my question is, if there are programs and people with a track record of positive impact for closing gaps and significantly improving the mental, emotional, social, behavioral, and academic health, are you interested? And I hear people talking about the need for mental health services, but if you look over the decades, the last 5 years, 10 years, whatever, the services available haven't really stemmed the tide of the increasing and epidemic rates of mental health problems. So I would suggest that there should be an openness to looking for other solutions, because right now it seems like the success of mental health is almost based on, are we going to get kids on medication? So another question is, does your school district receive funding for every student labeled and medicated? Does your school receive funding for students sent to special ed? And I'd like to know how much you make off of students labeled, medicated, and sent to special ed, which for decades has been characterized as a pipeline to prison. So I would like more information on what your programs are that really serve these kids, because there are stories, and you'll hear some, and it's very common. I've been working in special ed and normal ed and high achievers for over 30 years, and special ed's been a disaster since 1991 when I was formally in there. And I brought a couple months ago some packets of information, and I'm wondering, with all the talk of partnership and ideas from the community, did anybody even read what I left? I left packets, supposedly it gets to everybody. I haven't heard a thing. I spent time, I spent money putting things together. You say you're interested. I've got something that guaranteed could work, and I will just grab my props. So kids who have attention deficit disorder, and you want to put them on medication, I've had experience getting kids totally focused, and they learn to concentrate with something like that shook in their face. We have a little card, costs nothing, no medication, and it works. It helped And it's not just at North High. Like I said, I got 30 years, but them go from a 35 to a 95% graduation rate. Does that interest anybody here to find out more? I'm just kind of confused why there's such a statement about wanting to find answers, and then it doesn't seem like there's really much follow-through. Here's a little biofeedback card. You teach somebody something very simple, and they can learn to self-regulate by working with their breathing. Free, innate, natural, no drugs. Are you interested? Because it just seems like maybe your priorities are not necessarily in a place that really are serving the children. So, how much time do I have left? That was it? Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Number 7, Jennifer Hernandez. Hi. Welcome.
Thanks. Good evening, school board members, superintendent, members of the cabinet, Robbinsdale staff and community. My name is Jennifer Hernandez, and I've been a district resident and a teacher at Plymouth Middle School for 25 years. I'm here today on behalf of PMS staff to address the proposed staffing ratio for counselors and assistant principals for the 2025-26 school year. We have been told that the ratio will be 1 to 500. That is to say, 1 counselor and 1 assistant principal per 500 students. Already, that ratio is woefully inadequate to meet the needs of our students. What makes the situation more alarming is that from what we've been told, there is no rounding up. So, for example, PMS, which is projected to have an enrollment of nearly 800 students next year, would have 1 counselor and 1 AP for nearly 800 students. We currently have around 770 students, 3 counselors, and 2 APs, and every single one of them is busy all day long. We feel understaffed as it is. I'd like to focus on the essential work that our school counselors do just for a moment. They are absolutely on the front line in helping to meet the social and emotional needs of our students. Just today in the district line, the Ardale Employee Newsletter, there was an article highlighting the wellness rooms in our middle school with one of our counselors, Sophie Bigelow, speaking about the importance of these rooms. The article begins with the words, "At Robbinsdale area schools, we believe that supporting students' mental health is a critical part of their overall success." I couldn't agree more. But I ask myself, how in the world could we possibly hope to adequately support our students' mental health in a building with 1 counselor for almost 800 students? In addition to the work our counselors do in helping students navigate emotional regulation, peer relationships, academic concerns, and situations at home, they also manage 504 plans, standardized testing, which is an enormous undertaking, and scheduling students, which is also a huge job. Am I done? Almost done, okay. I realize that $21 million is a large amount to cut, but this is not the place to do it. I invite district leadership to spend time in our hallways and our buildings and to see our counselors and APs in action. Middle school is a challenging enough time for kids as it is. Counselors literally save lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. 8 is Mary Iverson. Hi, welcome.
I've recently had a bit of a head injury. Oh, sure. I have had a little head injury recently, so I'm going to read from my notes so I can stay
Totally
on topic
fine.
and just
Totally fine. Just make sure you can be heard.
Okay, sounds good. My name is Mary Iverson. I am a grandmother to 2 biracial boys who've been horribly and hopefully not irreparably damaged by the public education system, specifically special education. Robbinsdale schools are part of that system, and your students suffer as a result. Disproportionately Black students, because according to AI, Black students are diagnosed, labeled, and medicated with no attention paid to the internal needs and the lives that they are living. And there is also no effective looking at alternative non-medical ways of handling trauma and abuse and neglect that many times gets children in these special education programs. I have several friends who work in special education in Bloomington, in Minnetonka, in a variety of places, and they have reported the same things to me. Are you aware of the disproportionality that exists in these programs in special ed? Have you sought effective non-pharmacological interventions that are helpful and effective for children, that don't destroy their health? What is the efficacy of your special ed services, and how specifically do you measure it? Schools are supposed to provide a safe and welcoming environment, yet my grandsons, for reasons never explained despite having the rights to know, have been bullied physically and verbally at their quote-unquote learning center, where they have learned very little, if anything at all, in several years. Additionally, they are abused by their father. Investigations open, and they shut quickly if they open at all. And these boys show up in schools like this. And because of the abuse that they endure, they act out. And then one even attempted suicide. These are young children. I care about all children. Does your board care about all children? And do you really? And if so, how is that measured? It should be obvious they need emotional and physical support, but they get forced on medication. Do Robbinsdale schools receive funding for every student qualifying? In other words, qualifying for a diagnosis that requires medication? And if so, how much do you receive per student? And how much do you receive in total? And how much did you receive in total in the last couple of years per student? How do you measure the effectiveness of your special education programs, and what percentage of your special education students are Black? How much funding did you receive from the Black students who receive special ed? I hear that you want to cut the IB access for students who are doing well, primarily in the Black high schools. On the one hand, you generate a lot of funding off of struggling Black students while saving relative pennies by cutting academic opportunities for about the same number of students who are STEM smart. I'm fighting to get custody of my grandchildren, but because the father sides with the school, the mental health workers, and child welfare, who all want to put the boys on medication, I'm having to fight against the deceit and the withholding of information from a group of white people, which I am too. But I'm not part of the deceit, but I'm part of exposing it. I hear claims about transparency, fairness, and no bias, but I've seen up close how actions don't match words, and yes, we have to look at the results. My grandsons are extremely bright, but a broken education system has landed them in a special ed learning center that they passionately hate. Do you think that as a board of public school districts struggling like just about every other district is, that maybe the real scope of intelligence doesn't fit in a box of STEM, but maybe we need to consider alternative forms of learning?
Can you wrap it up?
Yeah, I sure can. The NAACP was the only organization supporting me against systems that seem determined to feed students to the pharmacological in the prison systems. I see children every day that report to me that they come out of schools and are medicated and they wind up in prison, because I live close to the train, and I talk to a lot of students, and they come out of a lot of these schools, and they're harmed by the medication and the failure to pay attention to what's going on internally. So we have to come up with new solutions to help these children succeed. We don't want to lose generations of students.
Thank you. Omer Brown, number 9.
How y'all doing?
Hi, welcome.
I'm gonna be brief. I just want to say, in the late 90s, I used to work for the St. Paul Public Schools with the Eisenmenger program.
Which one?
Eisenmenger program. And we were just basically working with 6th graders who was basically labeled bad kids. We had to give them medication and all that. But that was in the late 90s, and this 2025, so I can imagine how bad it is for the students now that's labeled as troubled kids or whatever. But back then, when I worked in the program, we worked in the class with the kids, with the children, and then they literally had a cell in another room. It didn't have bars, but it was like a little cell where we had to take them to if they, the meds were off, and once the meds were off, they running around and all that. But it used to hurt me to even do that, because I thought that if I work with kids, I'd be in a situation to help them, but it's like everything was set in stone back then, where you could impart yourself on the student, but the things that they had to go through were just giving the medication and them being labeled certain things, and they being aware of them being labeled, and I ended up moving out of Minnesota. But my younger brother worked for the school, and he always used to run into some of the kids that became grown, and some of the ones that was deemed the worst, they became successful business owners in St. Paul or wherever, and then some fell by the wayside, got killed in the streets. But as a child, it's harder being a kid nowadays than when I was growing up, because they being bombarded left and right with so many different messages that it's really hard to, even in 6th grade, you still new to the planet, so they trying to find themselves, and once you get a label on them, and like y'all was saying, I'm gonna jump all over the place because my thoughts everywhere, but it's just hard being a kid, and once you start medicating them, you really just making them docile while they medicated, pushing them along, and then when they get old enough, they're gonna end up in a jail cell. Because you can't keep medicating, you can medicate them as a child, but when they get older, they're not gonna be down to take the medicines. They didn't even want to take it when they was in 6th grade, so we can't keep medicating these babies. We gotta engage them and love them and understand them instead of putting them in just one box. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Marcia Phillips.
That would be Marcia Phillips.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Marcia Phillips.
No problem. You guys have 30%. You have 30% of African American students in this district, and you have 2 African American women that sit on the board. Do you think it's fair, appropriately, representation for the students? Also, as I was sitting here, I heard other people talking here about budgets being cut and programs being dissolved. What about the $20 million that no one's talking about? So it's just some concern. I'm just a concerned citizen wanting to know about the $20 million, and they want to cut all these activities for the students that will help the students. So I'm wondering what's going on with that money, and is it fair? Do you think it's appropriate for the kids that are black have someone to represent them in the board other than 2 people? That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Number 11 is Brian White. Hi, welcome.
Hi. Good evening, school board members, administration members, everyone else here tonight. My name is Brian White. I've been a resident of Robbinsdale School District for 24 years. I lived in Golden Valley and now in Robbinsdale. I sent both my sons through this district's wonderful schools. And for the last 11 years, I've been a teacher here in the district, mostly at Noble Elementary. When I heard about the accounting error that created a $21 million shortfall at the beginning of the school year, I immediately knew because of our enrollment, that Noble could be a school that might have to be closed eventually to help with staffing costs and enrollment issues. Although I feel it's unfair to put that financial burden of that $20 million on teaching staff and reducing services to families. As a resident, I do understand that these are easy choices to make, especially when communications to the general public are non-existent or limited at best. We have been informed of staff cuts that will not just affect my colleagues at Noble and other schools, but will severely affect the families and students in our districts. These staffing cuts will force elementary schools in our districts to create combined grade level classes, split specialist time between several schools, and reduce support staff to minimums that will cause educational and security issues in our schools. While there is no doubt in my mind that deep cuts need to be made to repair this horrible fund, this $20 million deficit, I'm struggling why would want to impose this blanket decision across the entire district rather than making the difficult, more targeted discussions that we need to do. Why not close some of the schools now? Yes, it'll be difficult. Transportation will be difficult. Teachers and principals will be displaced along with the families. But isn't this better than limping along for another year and watching as families use their power of choice to remove their students and further reduce enrollment across the district? I believe making these closing decisions now offers our families time to decide how to use their choice prior to next year's enrollment. This decision could help us maximize building allocations and reduce the need to make more damaging cuts in the coming years that could contribute to a death spiral for our whole district. I don't want to see Robbinsdale consumed by dysfunction and disruption. Can we make the decision to close Noble Elementary and maybe a middle school or some other school and make the same teacher cuts and absorb the students into the rest of the district and then move on more stronger and stable?
Thank you very much. Cynthia Wilson. Can you just 1 second?
She's just grabbing water, she's got a cough.
That's fine.
Grabbing a tissue. It's better that way, no tissue. Okay, she started coughing. Sorry,
Yep. Good evening. My name is Cynthia Wilson. I'm the president of the Minneapolis NAACP. I've been here several times. Want to touch on a few things. My first and foremost, I want to talk about the email you sent me with the very kind of inflammatory bullying and yeah. So if you didn't think so, then maybe you should let somebody read your messages before you send them out. And a rather threatening kind of a tone as well, that if I come here again, I better follow your rules or you're going to escort me out of here. That might work with Sharon Brooks, but it won't work for me. You will not bully me, you will not intimidate me, and you will not talk to me like I'm a child. I walked in and I saw this. It says, Ardell wants your input. And it says all are welcome. Is that true? Or is it only welcome to what you want to hear? I'm not going to come here and listen to all of the lies that are perpetuated by this board about inclusion, inclusivity, and how you want to make this district so well when there is lack of representation, number one. Number two, there's harassment, there is bullying, there is retaliation that is happening right under your eyes. And everybody witnessed this when I was here 3 or 4 weeks ago with Sharon Brooks, when you guys did your little performance of the voting for positions. That was very racist, discriminatory, and hostile. And it was sickening to my stomach. I couldn't take it. So if I yelled out something, that's my choice. What are the rules of engagement here? Are they listed somewhere, or do you guys dictate as you go? Because that's what it appears to be happening. You dictate the rules based on what you want. And I said it, and I'm going to say it again. And I will continue to come here because I will put it on record what's really happening with the Robbinsdale board. It is very, very racist. And everybody here who said nothing and sat and watched what went on is culpable. You want to dismiss Sharon for
piddly things, but you did nothing to your former treasurer. No, you don't give me the time that you gave that lady, okay? Okay. So what happened with that former treasurer, you want to dictate to Sharon Brooks what she can and can't say, all of what she did, harassing her to the point that she resigned? She had 13,000 votes to be a part of this board to advocate for black students. And you guys stripped her of everything. And yes, all of you at this table are responsible. And if you feel good at night doing that, then look yourself in the mirror and continue to be racist and discriminatory as you've been. And do not cover it up with being black, because that don't work either, sister. Any sisters. I hold people accountable, not by color, but by accountability. And what's been going on here is enough. And I'm gonna continue to come here, and next time that I come, and this is not a threat like you made me, it'll be a promise, we'll have this place full with media. Because people need to know exactly what you guys are about, and it's not about inclusivity.
Thank you. We'll see you. That was number 12, and that is all I have papers for. If anybody else interested in speaking, there is still about 7 minutes. And so if you are interested, just fill out the paper and give it to our assistant. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. I've got number 13 and 14 right here. Sorry. Nina Johnson. Sorry about that. I didn't know they were here.
No, no problem. Hi.
Hi, welcome.
First of all, I'm Nina Johnson. I'm a parent. I'm a staffer. I'm disappointed by everything that has been happening in this room that has been detracting from what really we should be focusing on. Everything that happened tonight had nothing to do with why we all should actually be here, with the exception of a very few people that are actually people that live in this community and are here on behalf of the people that we actually all should be here for, which is our kids. So please, can we always just remember that that is why we're here? So thank you all for being here for our kids. The reason that I wanted to speak tonight was, is that $20 million budget error. And that was something that wasn't caused by our students or our teachers or the EAs or the counselors or anybody. And it is just hurting my heart, and I know it's hurting so many of the people behind us, that the people that are going to have to bear the brunt of this are the youngest and most vulnerable people in our community. When I worked at a nonprofit, we ended up with a period of time where there was a significant loss of government funding, and in order to keep some of our lab technicians and our educators, everybody on our staff that were higher ups took a 25% pay cut that we couldn't afford, and our executive director took no salary for a year in order to keep our clinic open. And that's a huge ask for anybody, but it was something that was done in order to do what was right to keep the people that could least afford to not get paid to be, to keep functioning. So it's bothering me that when we have this massive error that wasn't made by our students, our teachers, or any of these people, that all of these cuts are gonna hurt them the most. So I keep wondering, and I have no solution to this, but is there anything that we possibly could do that somehow could not strip away everything from our youngest and most deserving people, and the people that we all care about the most, which is the wonderful kids and teachers and staff of Robbinsdale Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next one, number 14, is Kristen Moon?
That's correct.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. I am Kristen Moon. I am one of the 4th and 5th grade orchestra teachers in this district. And I really debated speaking tonight, given the situation the district is in financially and understanding the significant budget cuts that will have to be made. And really thought about, is this the most important thing? Are there more important things than orchestra that our district has to pay for? But I think about my personal experience as a student, an educator, and learner, and to me, this is the most important thing. And I think about the students that are in my program where it is important to them. It might be the reason that they come to school. It's something that once they start to learn, a student, they're never alone because they have an instrument and a musician community that they get to be a part of. So thinking about eliminating 4th grade orchestra concerns me because the development of a string player takes a long time. There's the instrument that they use to play, but then also the bow that they learn how to use it. And it's 2 completely different things that they do with both hands. So that year of 4th grade is very significant in terms of their development as a musician and in terms of really building that skill that allows them to present amazing performances like they have at Orchestra Hall. I also want to speak for a moment about how I think our string program in Robbinsdale is different from other string programs in the Twin Cities. I've lived here since 2008. I had a private studio for a long time where families could afford to pay me for private lessons. My students' parents were doctors and lawyers, and I chose to go into public school to be able to work with students whose families couldn't afford that kind of level of quality instruction, because that was my experience growing up. I think what we do in terms of providing a string program for Robbinsdale is not done in other districts in terms of the quality and the depth of experience that our students get, especially in terms of providing access to students of color who you don't often see in string programs and with string instruments in their hand. And we are able to do that at a low cost, or if the families can't afford to, at a reasonable cost or no cost to them. It's a significant experience. It also really impacts their brain development. I would encourage you to attend our orchestra festival on March 8th at Cooper, where you will see all of our elementary students. It is over 500 of them, and we will fill the floor there, and you'll see the community that comes out to experience and support these young musicians on their journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that is like perfect timing because listening session ends at 6:50. So thank you everyone for coming. Stick around for this board meeting that starts at 7 o'clock.
Hi, my name is Omar Brown. I'm at the Robbinsdale School District board meeting, and I'm just here to briefly speak on how I'm against medicating the students because I believe that leads to the from school to prison pipeline. And also one of the solutions I believe that could help the children is, besides stop medicating them, just engage them as individuals instead of medicating them, and engage these children and don't bombard them with everything under the sun. And that's about it. Thank you.
My name is Mary Iverson. I am a grandparent of 2 biracial children who attend school in the Anoka School District. They are part of the special ed program, and in that program, in over 2 years, my 9-year-old grandson has not been taught how to read, even a word. The school has allowed bullying, physical assaults, verbal assaults, and they have failed to protect and keep my grandson safe. And they have failed to educate my grandson. He is in a school that is part of what I believe is the school to prison pipeline. And instead of relating to these children and providing effective ways to nurture and motivate children to learn, they want to medicate and further harm children. This is what I have personally witnessed in this particular school district. And I'm here at Robbinsdale School to share the story and to learn about how we can come up with ideas for changing this system that is disproportionately affecting Black children, like my grandchildren. I think some possible solutions would be to relate to children, to understand them, to understand what's going on in their lives, so to connect with them instead of medicating them, and then teach them to diaphragmatic breathe. That can be very regulating for children, and it can be healing for their bodies, and it can prepare them in their minds to be ready to learn. Medicating has a lot of negative side effects, and if you look at the statistics over time, it's not helpful. So I think some possible solutions would be to calm systems through teaching the breathing and even drinking water, for example, can be therapeutic for children. So that's one other option, but also connecting. Those are some pretty simple things that don't cost a lot, and they allow physiological changes in the body and can prepare children for learning. My 9-year-old grandson was so dysregulated, and he turned into a ball of rage going into this school that has been very harmful for him. It has created a lot of stress in his life, and he has failed to learn anything in over 2 years in that school. He can't even read a word, can't even read his name, and he's a smart kid. In a couple of months when I was homeschooling him, he learned to do the diaphragmatic breathing, the guided imagery, the earthing, and he was regulated and learning and became passionate about learning. So with just those simple techniques, he was transformed into a child who was ready to learn and wanting to learn.
Angels all gathered to worship the Lamb. Angels all gathered to worship the Lamb. Up your kingdom in the glory of our Father, yeah, yeah. Glory up your kingdom in the glory of our Father. Elders all gather, worship the Lamb.
I was riding up in the elevator with several other women who rushed into the elevator with me to head up to the 3rd floor. The women spoke to each other and talked about having to take Xanax. And another lady chimed in and asked why, and she said because the NAACP is going to be here. And it turned out that that particular woman who was taking the Xanax was sitting up on the board chair. She is a Robbinsdale School Board member. She was quite nervous that the NAACP was going to be here, and she didn't know if the Xanax was going to work.
Kingdom, kingdom, is the glory of our Father. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gather. Worship the Lamb. We gather